So I've developed this new obsession with this game called Spy. And very briefly, for those of you who don't know what this is, it's a game where everyone in the circle knows about the chosen location. It could be a spa or a hospital or a gym or any of these things. And there are like one or more imposters who don't know what the location is. And the group is trying to figure out who the imposters are through a series of like yes or no questions. And so this game pairs quite well with my other favorite party group game, Werewolf, which is like a more updated version of the game Mafia, if you've ever played it. So there are a series of werewolves that no one knows amongst the group, and each night they wake up and like kill people from the game, and the group has to figure out who the werewolves were. And so I really love these games. I find them so much fun. I play them in like group gatherings all the time. But recently I've been reflecting because I have been chosen as the imposter or as the werewolf as of late in some of the rounds that I've been playing. And like at their core, these are inherently like games where you have to lie. And so, I don't know, growing up, like one of the quotes that I grew up with was from the Baha'i writings, truthfulness is the foundation of all human virtues. And so I've carried that with me my whole life. And individually, like personally, I make a very big effort to be as truthful as possible in all my day-to-day gatherings. And so, like with that said, I love these games where you have to be a little bit deceptive and sort of trick people. And I was thinking about it because I was like, I don't know if that's totally coherent. And the other part of me was like, well, it's just a game. It's not like affecting anything. And I feel like you could really go either way with regard to like, oh, it's just a game, like everyone's feeling included, like that's what we're going to prioritize, versus like the strict morals of like we're always going to be truthful all the time. I don't know, like we don't want to tend towards either extreme. We don't want to be totally frivolous with our behavior and play games that are like, I don't know, whatever group you're in, you want to play groups that are group oriented and enjoyable and like wholesome. But yeah, you I guess you just want to find that balance. And so I was really thinking about this because I was a werewolf a couple of times and like I got good at it, and some of my friends were like, oh my god, Soraya, we can't trust you anymore. And then it extended to like outside the game where I was like joking around with them and they didn't believe me for what I was saying, and it was totally all fun and games. Like it wasn't like a serious thing at all, but it really got me thinking about like the line that we sort of draw with the day-to-day things that we do, and like what is okay and what is not okay, and like what can we prioritize. I guess I'm just sort of like I'm curious about this because I don't know like how high we take our standards, specifically if truthfulness or rule following or whatever, like does that extend to the games that we play? I think about it even in the context of sports. Like we know that we're trying to build a world that is completely united and centers around the oneness of humanity, and yet most of, if not all of the sports that have ever existed are like competitive and like head to head. And you might be like, that's totally normal. Like, why are we even considering? But like, I just think it's an important and interesting thing. It's an interesting thing to point out. Like we're going towards this goal, and yet we're playing games. Like in our society, we have games like football, like American football. And American football is one of my favorite things in the world, embarrassingly. Like I love the NFL with my whole heart. I'm like a diehard Patriots fan. And yet I know that like if an alien came from outer space, they would look at that and be like, this is like a gladiator fight, like with people like tackling each other, and they have helmets, and this is like the most dangerous thing ever. And we know that it is dangerous. Yeah, so like where do we draw the line? Like in our future society, hopefully where we will have established more unity and there's less just like competition amongst groups in general, will we have these sort of games that are like inherently like head to head, like against each other? Beyond like sports and games, I also just think about rule following in general. Like I'm a believer that like rules exist for a reason. And like as Baha'is, we're asked to follow the like directions of our government, and to be obedient to our government. And yet, like, this is a personal failing, but like I jaywalk like every so often. And so I wonder, like, that might be considered extreme. Like, oh, everyone jaywalks. But like, at what point do we say that, like, oh, that's like actually not technically legal, and in order to be like fully a part, like a constructive member of society, like we all want to follow the same rules and be on the same page, because there's a reason that jaywalking isn't allowed. And yeah, I'm just like curious about this. I don't really have an answer for what is right, what is wrong. Do we ban football? Do we ban soccer? Or do we not play these like lying games? I don't know. The lying games are so fun, and yet, like, at my core, I'm like, I'm actively lying here. Like, I'm actively trying to be deceptive. And so, I don't know. I think there are two things maybe I'll bring up. One, I hope, and I think, how can I phrase this? In terms of creativity and innovation in our world, I truly believe we are at the beginning of human history. I think there is so much yet that we haven't discovered, and I think as humanity evolves, we will become more creative. And I wonder about a world, maybe not 100 years down the line, but 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years down the line, where like we find a game like football or we find a game like soccer to be really, really boring. And so with our newfound creativity, we find ways to make games that are as intellectually stimulating, sports as intellectually stimulating and cool, but don't have this like head-to-head like competition thing that we see inherent across all sports, that will be physically challenging and demanding, and yet they're collaborative in some way. And so I have a lot of faith in this like human creativity that we'll be able to get to a point where we're sort of in the infantile stages of like coming up with games, essentially. And I guess just like one anecdote to like end on that I thought was cool. I was spending time with friends in one setting, and Spy, the original game, was like a game that we played a lot. And then one friend pulled out this card game that was like totally collaborative, like entirely, like the whole group had to work together to like establish, to like get to the highest number. I forget what it was entirely, but we were all so invested in the game, and it was really fun, and we're all hyping each other up. And I think that showed me in that moment that games amongst people can be as equally fun, and not have that competitive lying undertone that I had seen in some of my other favorite games. But yeah, just some food for thought. I'll definitely be thinking about this a lot. Just, I don't know, as I navigate moving forward, as I navigate like my social interactions and what games I bring, and that sort of thing. And hopefully as we develop, we'll be able to think more creatively about like what fun actually means. Yeah.